Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Today is Tuesday, November 10, 2020. BBC report. Biden defends Obamacare as top court hears case. The Democrats said the court effort was an attempt by far-right ideologues to undermine access to health care. The comments come as the U.S. faces an unrelenting coronavirus pandemic. Democrats made protecting the law a key election issue. This case represents the latest attempt by the far-right ideologues to do what they have repeatedly failed to do for a long time, Mr. Biden said in a Tuesday address where he addressed the Supreme Court case that opened with oral arguments today.
Al Jazeera report. English FA chairman resigns after unacceptable racism storm. Greg Clark has resigned as chairman of the English Football Association after making a series of controversial statements to a parliamentary committee that provoked outrage. Clark was forced to apologize after he used the word coloured when referring to black players as he addressed the United Kingdom's Digital, Culture, Media, and Sport Committee (DCMS) about diversity issues on Tuesday. The 63-year-old, who is a vice president of world governing body FIFA, also attracted criticism for suggesting that England's lack of professional players from a South Asian background was due to different career interests, comparing the situation to the IT department at the FA.
BBC report. South Africa's Ace Magashule. Arrest warrant issued for ANC official. The case against Ace Magashule is related to the awarding of a $16 million £12 million government contract in 2014. He told local media that he was not worried as he had done nothing wrong. He is the most senior ANC official who risks prosecution since President Cyril Ramaphosa took office in 2018. Mr. Ramaphosa is the leader of the ANC, but he and Mr. Magashule, who is the party's Secretary General, come from rival factions.
CNN report. Norwegian Air may not survive the pandemic. Norwegian Air wanted to bring a low-cost business model to transatlantic flights. It's quickly running out of runway. The coronavirus pandemic and travel restrictions have forced Norwegian Air to ground the vast majority of its fleet, and furlough almost all of its workers. The heavily indebted carrier's stock has collapsed, and its cash reserves are nearly exhausted. Norwegian is dependent on additional working capital in order to continue operating through the first quarter of 2021 and beyond, the airline said Tuesday as it reported its latest financial results.
Al Jazeera report. Did Alexander Hamilton enslave people? New research says yes. Was Alexander Hamilton, a founding father of the United States, celebrated as an abolitionist in the eponymous hit Broadway musical, A Slave Owner? The answer is yes, according to new research paper. The question has persistently attracted biographers and historians and incited a great deal of debate. But now, a paper by Jesse Serfilippi of the Schuyler Mansion State Historic Site in Albany, New York, has provided the most definitive answer yet.
Deutsche Welle report. Germany. Police begin clearing forest protesters for Autobahn extension. On Tuesday, police began removing barricades put in place by environmental activists in the western German state of Hesse to stop the destruction of the Dannenroder Forst, which is to be cut down to make way for an extension to the A49 freeway. An even larger police contingent was deployed to disband the activists' forest camp, which they have occupied for more than a year. Police were planning to empty and then remove the various barricades erected on the ground and in the trees themselves. Regional police authority Mittelhesse-Polizei sent out a number of tweets throughout the day documenting the operation.
Fox report. As virus spikes, Europe runs low on ICU beds, hospital staff. Paris, AP, in Italy lines of ambulances park outside hospitals awaiting beds. And in France, the government coronavirus tracking app prominently displays the intensive care capacity taken up by COVID-19 patients, 92.5% and rising. At the ICU in Barcelona, there is no end in sight for the doctors and nurses who endured this once already. Intensive care is the last line of defense for severely ill coronavirus patients, and Europe is running out of beds and the doctors and nurses to staff them.
Fox report. Florida County School Board fires principal over Holocaust comments. The Palm Beach County School Board on Tuesday officially fired a former high school principal over his comments on the Holocaust that provoked national outrage. William Latson was fired from Boca Raton Spanish River High School last year after telling a parent via email that he couldn't say the Holocaust as a factual, historical event because I am not in a position to do so as a school district employee.
CNN report. Want to work from home forever? Here's what you need to know. Many companies are announcing plans to let employees work remotely permanently, and even if your employer hasn't made such a pledge, making the case to work remotely might be easier now that we've been forced to do it for so long. But before packing up your belongings in search of a new zip code, there are some things to take into consideration. Hone your pitch when preparing your pitch to work remotely full-time. Make sure to have specific examples of your work performance over the past 8 months, like times when you've exceeded goals, come up with innovative solutions or helped with team building, and the impact you've had on the company.
Deutsche Welle report. UK Foreign Office expels Belarusian diplomats in tit-for-tat move. The UK Foreign Office on Monday said it was expelling 2 Belarusian diplomats in direct response to 2 British diplomats being declared persona non grata in Minsk. We have sent a clear message today that their unjustified expulsion of British diplomats has consequences, British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said in a statement. Minsk said it was expelling the 2 senior British diplomats on Monday, citing the destructive nature of their activities.
Al Jazeera report. Obamacare may not be in peril, U.S. Supreme Court justices suggest. The U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday grappled with whether all of Obamacare should be thrown out in a challenge by the Republican-governed states, backed by President Donald Trump's administration, with 2 conservative justices suggesting the law should remain intact even if one provision is struck down. The justices heard about 2 hours of arguments by teleconference in an appeal by a coalition of the Democratic-governed states including California and New York and the Democratic-led House of Representatives to preserve the Affordable Care Act, ACA, as Obamacare is formally known.
BBC report. Mexico women's protest, outrage after police fired shots. 2 people were injured by bullets and 2 more protesters were also hurt in the chaos which ensued. The demonstrators were protesting following the murders of 2 women in Cancun over the weekend. The police opened fire when the protesters tried to gain access to the city hall. Video shows some of the protesters ripping off plywood boards which had been installed to barricade the entrance to the building.
CNN report. Europe just hit the U.S. with $4 billion in new tariffs, but Biden could reduce tensions. The European Union is moving ahead with tariffs on $4 billion worth of U.S. goods. But it also wants to end a series of bitter trade disputes and reboot its relationship with the United States as a new administration prepares to take power in Washington. The World Trade Organization last month cleared the way for tariffs to be imposed on American exports including aircraft when it delivered a ruling in favor of the European Union as part of a long-running dispute over U.S. subsidies to Boeing, BA, and EU aid to rival planemaker Airbus, EADSF.
CNN report. These stocks and sectors could thrive under Biden. Joe Biden will be the 46th president of the United States, and Wall Street is busy trying to figure out how to profit from that. Monday's big market rally likely had more to do with the reported efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccine that Pfizer PFE and BioNTech BNTX are working on than Biden's victory. But market strategists say investors need to start preparing for how a Biden presidency will impact certain sectors.
Fox report. Trump supporter allegedly rips mask off counter-protester at FL Stop the Steal rally, police investigating. Local police in Florida are investigating after a Trump supporter allegedly ripped off a mask worn by a counter-protester at a recent Stop the Steal rally in Pensacola over the weekend. Video broadcast by Where TV showed a man in a red shirt, with Trump Pence 2020 written on the front, rip off a mask worn by a woman from the opposite group during a tense exchange. Other apparent Trump supporters, some wearing MAGA hats, stepped in to de-escalate the situation, pushing the man who grabbed the mask away from the woman.
Fox report. Flooding in Greece sweeps cars into sea, sends people to rooftops. Heavy flooding on the Greek island of Crete damaged roads, flooded hundreds of homes and swept cars into the sea amid ongoing torrential rainfall. Authorities Tuesday said the worst damage occurred east of the island's capital, Heraklion, in small towns and villages where schools were closed and residents were advised to stay indoors. In the worst affected areas, some residents sought refuge on the roofs of their homes as muddy water swept through towns, dragging cars and debris.
Deutsche Welle report. Germany's imams seen as key in combating radicalization. The latest spate of terror attacks in France and Austria will not hamper the cooperation between the government and Germany's Muslim community, Interior Minister Horst Seehofer said on Tuesday. We won't let terrorism and extremism derail us, Seehofer said at the start of this year's German Islam conference. Seehofer praised an Islamic theology program for German-speaking imams in the city of Osnabrück as a significant contribution towards preventing radicalization.
Thank you for watching 5 p.m. recap. To be notified, you can subscribe our channel and activate the bell.